a lot of direct messages over the last couple of months of guys that follow similar protocols after watching these YouTube videos that have already gotten their wives pregnant. So good on you. Vigorous Steve here with my latest semen analysis results. Basically, long story short, my fertility parameters are now so good that me and my wife are finally ready to start conceiving. So last month I didn't update you guys, even though I did go in for a semen analysis. I do this every month to kind of see the rate of progression on my fertility parameters. Now, as of July 6th, everything is basically in the green. A couple markers are still slightly off, but I'm confident that these fertility parameters are good enough to start conceiving and to create another life with my wife. So in this video, I want to compare the results from May 7th to the results from June 11th and July the 6th last weekend. So we have 3 longitudinal data points to start comparing to each other. And now you also know that I jerked off 3 times in the hospital, but we're doing this for the sake of the community, okay? So don't hold it against me. Just keep in mind, guys, that I'm doing all of this for you, so you know that there's hope even after a decade of steroid use with intermittent use of human chorionic gonadotropin for testicular function. In the beginning, I barely touched HCG unless it was for post-cycle therapy. But as of the last couple of years, let's say the last 2 years, I've been on HCG religiously, so my testicular function was sustained for the last 2 years. I want to give you hope, so you know that within 6 months, with an extensive fertility protocol, you can restore testicular function to the point you can start conceiving with your wife, as I'll show you in this video. Before we get into it, please like the video, leave a comment for the algorithm, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. You can join the weekly Vigorous Q&A, which is always on Saturday, by joining the Patreon YouTube memberships. If you want to ask your questions privately before we go public, until it turns into a super chat flood, you can vote for upcoming deep dives, which are also posted on the Patreon or YouTube membership section, or support the channel so I can reinvest into editors and upgrading this studio. Now, what protocol was I on for the last 2 months? I adapted my protocol slightly, so the human chorionic gonadotropin in the form of Merck Ovitrel, that's recombinant HCG, still stayed the same. 1083 IUs on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday subcutaneously. I didn't change anything to that protocol because I felt that my beta HCG levels on my blood work were more than sufficient for testicular function. And again, it's a hefty dose, even though my testosterone levels and my estradiol levels didn't really go as high as I expected. I increased the Merck Gonal F recombinant follicle stimulating hormone from 75 IUs every other day in between the HCG administrations to every day. Again, based on my blood work results, I felt that the day after the recombinant FSH administration, my FSH levels in serum were kind of bottomed out within the range, but at the bottom of the reference range. So I decided to increase that to 75 IUs every single day. Quite expensive, but I feel that this is one of the reasons why everything is now kind of falling into place. Because now after 2 months, my fertility parameters are basically all in the green. I've still been on injectable glutathione 4 days per week because I do intravenous glutathione as part of the mitochondrial support stack with NAD+ and vitamin C and B100 complex vitamins. So I inject intramuscularly 4 times per week on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because on Monday I take 1800 milligrams injectable glutathione intravenously, which will last me Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So basically 600 milligrams injectable glutathione every single day to improve semen motility, semen morphology, and prevent DNA fragmentation, which can occur if you're subjecting yourself to a lot of oxidative stress. But in my case, I'm on so many antioxidants that I don't think there's any reason for concern regarding DNA fragmentation, which I will test over the next couple of weeks. And the same injectable carnitine protocol and the same nicotinamide mononucleotide protocol to help with my NAD+ levels besides the injectable intravenous NAD+ that I take every single week, right? My NAD+ levels very, very high, and I feel absolutely fantastic on this protocol. So let's move over to the latest semen analysis results and start comparing that to the previous one and the one before that, which was the latest one that I documented here on this YouTube channel. So we have May 7th, June 11th, and July 6th to compare to. All of the abstinence times was 4 days, which is sometimes hard. But again, we're doing this for the greater good. The collection time was anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. The latest time, the collection time was 20 minutes after I was done, donating, and then starting to analyze the semen. So in the previous 2 results, the consistency, the appearance of the semen was jelly, but I think now it's normal because you get a little bit of liquefaction after a certain amount of minutes after you've donated the semen. So maybe the difference of those last 5 minutes my appearance of the semen went from jelly to normal. Liquefaction, again, is normal in all instances. The viscosity is high. pH is 8, so that's all within normal parameters. And here you see that the viability or the vitality of the semen, which is the amount of sperm that's alive within the ejaculate, that went from 78 to 80 to 83%. Ideally, it's over 75% established by the World Health Organization in 2010. But in most reference ranges, you see that as long as the viability or the vitality is over 54%, then you're good for this particular parameter. Semen volume went from 3 milliliters of the last two results to 4 milliliters last weekend. Now, I've had it anywhere between 2 to 4 milliliters on various semen analysis results, so I think this is just normal. Sperm count per 1 milliliter went from 72 to 115 to 125 million sperm per 1 milliliter. And since the ejaculate volume increased from 3 to 4 milliliters, now my total ejaculate contains 500 million sperm. 500 million, baby. That's halfway through the reference range what is established by the World Health Organization. So ideally, it's over 39 million per ejaculate. That's considered to be sufficient to get somebody pregnant, assuming that, motility and morphology is also adequate. But anywhere between 39 million to 929 million is considered to be normal. So I'm pretty much halfway there. Right, so far, so good. And the amount of motile sperm per 1 milliliter increased from 50 to 78 to 94 million sperm per 1 milliliter. So these are the sperm that are actually swimming. They're alive and swimming. So it's a little bit of a different number compared to the viability or vitality of the semen analysis. These are the sperm that are swimming, whether that's in a straight line, that is the progressive motility, or the non-progressive motility. Those are the sperm that are kind of all over the place and not really ending up at the egg. So that's a combination of these two parameters. And the total motile sperm increased from 151 to 235 to 375 million sperm per ejaculate. So that's an increase of 60% comparing June 11 to July 6th. And it's also because the semen volume increased from 3 milliliters to 4 milliliters. So now I have a good amount of swimmers in my ejaculate. Total motility. So this is the combination of progressive motility and non-progressive motility. Again, these are the semen that are actually swimming. Went from 70 to 68, so that's a reduction from May 7th to June 11th. This is one of the reasons why I didn't really want to make a video about it. So I felt a little bit concerned, and that's why I wanted to get another data point this week and to see if my total motility was actually going down or that it was just a one-off with a small variation fluctuation, which can occur from month to month. So I went from 70 to 68 to 75%. So that's well over the 42% that they recommended for normal fertility levels. Ideally, it's anywhere between 40 to 81%. So I'm creeping up towards the top of the reference range established by the World Health Organization. The progressive motility, this is the most important part of your semen analysis because these are actually the sperm that are swimming right to the egg. If there's an egg during ovulation, obviously. So I went from 24, which is below the recommended reference range for progressive motility, to 32, which is over, and now 35. So again, it's a slow but steady increase with 35%, which is over 30, which they recommend. I feel confident that the time is now, and I no longer have to pull out finally. So the World Health Organization recommends anywhere between 32 to 75%. So even though my total motility is towards the top of the recommended reference range, my progressive motility, the ones that actually matter, are still towards the bottom, right? So maybe over the next 2 or 3 months, or maybe even longer, right? I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to take to get my wife pregnant. Fingers crossed, progressive motility keeps improving just like that. Non-progressive motility is going down, so that's also an improvement from the swimmers that are alive but swimming in circles all over the place. More of the swimmers are now actually going in a straight line. You see that the immotility of my semen is also steadily going down. There's no white blood cells in all of my semen analysis, so there's no indication of an infection ever, right? In none of my semen analysis, I have any indication of white blood cells. That brings us to the morphology. You see that normal morphology, which is the shape of the semen, went from 6% to 8% to now 12%. Ideally, the morphology, which is normal of your semen, is over 14%. So we're not entirely there yet, but based on the World Health Organization, the lowest range that you can start conceiving is 4%. So I broke that record a couple months ago, but I would still like to get it over 14%, even though I feel confident with these parameters that both me and my wife are ready to start conceiving. Now, a couple abnormalities on the morphology of the semen. You see that there's head defects are now at 80%, 17% neck defects, and 13% tail defects, which is also slowly coming down. And I'm confident that the longer I stay off cycle and the longer I stay on this fertility protocol, that the abnormality of my semen slowly starts to improve to the point I just have normally functioning semen with good DNA that is swimming in a straight line. So this is basically the latest on my semen analysis results. Sorry you had to sit through that, but I know there's plenty of guys watching out there that are ready to start conceiving as well. And I have had a lot of direct messages over the last couple of months of guys that follow similar protocols after watching these YouTube videos that have already gotten their wives pregnant. So good on you. I'm jealous. I'm very appreciative of all of your messages over the last couple of months. So that gives me hope, just like I'm giving you guys hope, that your fertility parameters can improve with, again, fertility protocols like this. I will keep you in the loop, but it's very customary and normal to wait with the official announcement until the wife, the pregnancy, has passed the first trimester. So then you're 3 months into the pregnancy, right? It's 3 trimesters of 3 months each. So normally during the first trimester, you do a lot of tests to make sure that your baby is healthy, right? No issues, during the early stages of pregnancy and later on in life. So I'm going to honor that. So we'll have to wait at least 3 months from this point onwards for the official announcement. But if you suddenly see me go back on cycle, that would be a clear hint that something positive has happened in both of our lives. But that's all I'm going to say about it. For now, I'm just going to continue with these semen analysis updates, maybe every 2 months, so we have some more longitudinal data. But I feel very, very confident in the future of me and my wife and a future baby. So stay tuned. I have some more blood work results to share with you guys. So let's just start with the sex hormone panel, which is ultimately what everybody is here for. How high are Steve's testosterone levels currently? On the morning of going in for blood work, I administered 1,083 IUs recombinant HCG and 75 IUs recombinant FSH, let's say about an hour, 1.5 hours before drawing blood. So you can see that my beta HCG levels went from 20.9 to 21.6, which is basically the day before, to now 39.1 milli-IUs per milliliter. So there's quite a steep tapering off over the 2 days, right? You inject one day, you might have 40 milli-IUs per milliliter, and the next day, only 20, which is still quite high based on the reference range for men, right? I'm certainly pregnant if I were to do a pregnancy test. You see that my follicle stimulating hormone went from 1.26 to 1.78, which is the day before going in for blood work, to 3.56 milli-IUs per milliliter the morning of doing blood work. I didn't do an injectable and intravenous recombinant FSH administration because honestly, I keep forgetting that. And I think, after that HMG administration, which I was somewhere towards the middle of the reference range on my FSH levels, I suspect that recombinant FSH will bring me to the middle of the reference range if I were to do 75 IUs intravenously. And then it stays elevated for approximately 4 to 4.5 hours, after which it starts to taper down based on its half-life. So I'm just going to continue on this protocol because I feel that it's working so far. Estradiol increased quite a bit from 41.7 to 34.7 to 45, give or take. So now I'm slightly super physiological on my estradiol levels. I think that's part of the last 5 months because I haven't really been to the gym. I haven't really been using my testosterone for anabolism because my shoulder was hurting and my knees were hurting. And I wanted to see what a month off from the gym would do to my hormone panel and my cardiac markers, which we'll discuss a little bit later. So I think I got increased aromatization because unfortunately I also got fat by not going to the gym and not doing cardio consistently, especially the last week. So we have a lot of work to do going forward. Progesterone has been steadily increasing from undetectable below 0.1 to 0.1 to 0.15 nanograms per milliliter. So even though the other hormones aren't exactly increasing, the copious amounts of HCG and FSH that I'm on are now slowly increasing my progesterone levels. Still not alarmingly high, but I will keep my eye on it. Prolactin I checked last month and this month went from 8 to 9.8 nanograms per milliliter. So that's basically in the middle of the reference range. Again, FSH we already discussed. Luteinizing hormone still undetectable below 0.04. milli-IUs per milliliter. So my HPTA is definitely not firing, right? And this whole fertility protocol is not about recovering my hypothalamus pituitary testes axis. It's about improving my testicular function. So I'm just doing the last part of the HPTA, the TA. There's actually no axis because I'm injecting this stuff. So it's the T and only the T using exogenous compounds. At least that's going well. But my pituitary and my hypothalamus, dead, lazy, non-functional, right? Besides the growth hormone and the prolactin that's coming out of it. Total testosterone has been increasing slightly, probably due to inactivity, from let's say 570 to 615 to now 660 nanograms per deciliter. As some of you guys might remember, I got up to, 880 or almost 900 nanograms per deciliter after a week of fasting. But I haven't been fasting for the last month. I've just been kind of chilling, playing video games and recovering all these little injuries that I had so I can start again fresh. Free testosterone, 9.4 to 11.2 to 11.4 is pretty much the same. Again, SHBG is fluctuating a little bit, but that's between, 41 to 47, give or take. Latestly, it's been 45.2 nanomoles per liter, so that's not alarmingly high, even though my libido, all things considering, has been quite good, I would say. And you see that my DHEA sulfate levels have increased a little bit from 125, 124, let's say, to 154, an increase of 24%. So that's a slight increase. Is that because I haven't been training last month, or because I've been eating a little bit more food and my adrenal glands are now a little bit more relaxed and giving me adequate or more DHEA and DHEA sulfates? Potentially. Unfortunately, I can't test a DHEA, free DHEA that is, or pregnenolone or pregnenolone sulfate levels here in Thailand. I can only track DHEA sulfate. So this is what I have to work with. I don't think it's necessary to start supplementing with DHEA, whether that's in the morning or evening or twice per day. Because so far I feel good, I'm cognitive, I'm relaxed, right? I sleep like a baby. So I'm just going to work with the hormones that I have currently until my wife is pregnant and we have the green light. That's basically my 6 hormones. Now I promised you guys in May that I was going to check my very low density lipoprotein and my apolipoprotein A1 and apolipoprotein B, the ratio between A1 and B, and my lipoprotein lil A levels, but I completely forgot. So I've tested them last month and this month. All of those are within normal parameters, so I don't see a reason for concern. Again, I'm not using anabolic androgenic steroids, and HCG has a positive effect on your lipids to a certain extent. I do feel that my HDL and LDL were kind of off due to the tirzepatide that I was running for appetite suppression to keep myself lean for the Bali holiday and the surgery that I ended up postponing. And now that I've been off tirzepatide and off training and off steroids, my body composition has slowly taken a turn for the worse. So again, a lot of work to do. You see that my cholesterol is slowly coming up. Again, because I didn't go to the gym and I didn't do so much cardio the last month. You see that my triglycerides going up for the same reason, even though I've been basically eating the exact same thing for the last couple of weeks. HDL has been improving from 44 to 57 to 56. So now we're close within the reference range. And LDL went down from 113 to 103 and now it's back up to 114. So I do think it's time to add in the citrus bergamot and see how much of a benefit I can get from the citrus bergamot in combination with berberine, which I'm still running 500 milligrams before bed. Besides that, no reason to add in the ezetimibe. I'm just going to improve my lipid parameters with the citrus bergamot and going back to the gym and just staying regimented with my diet 100%. Last thing I want to discuss, and I'm sure you're all very intrigued by these results, are my cardiac markers. All right. Very hot topic. Feel free to go loose in the comment section. All of your comments will fuel the algorithm. So whatever you want to say, go right ahead. I took a month off to see, besides recovering the injuries and the nagging body parts, to see what my cardiac markers would do. I train like an animal, whether I'm off cycle or on cycle, right? That could potentially cause some stress on the heart. These results have been elevated since I was forced to take something that I didn't really want to take. But for, rumors and visas, I was in an unfortunate position to have to make a hard decision, which I did. So ever since then, my CKMB and my troponin T levels have been elevated. And I wanted to see after a month of taking off from the gym if these levels would come down, which they did slightly. But I've seen these values before on previous blood work results. Again, I test these markers every single month for the last 2 years. So we went from 15.8 to 15.6 to 14 on my heart-specific CPK levels. It's a CKMB, which stands for myocardial band. So that's a reduction of 10%, which is notable. But I'm still not anywhere close to the reference range of up to 6.22 nanograms per milliliter. NT-proBNP is still within the reference range. I went from 18.1 to 10.1 to 18.2. So that's a normal fluctuation, I would say. Most of my readings have been around the 10 to 20 picograms per milliliter. So at least that's good. And my high sensitivity troponin T levels went from 0.25 to 0.26, which is basically the same, to 0.022, a reduction of 15.4%, but not anywhere close to the ideal level of 0.014 nanograms per milliliter. Just as a reminder of all the people who are new to this channel, I've done MRIs with contrast. I've done CT scans with contrast showing a calcium score of 0. And all of my organ imaging regarding my heart and all of my other organs are now normal. I'm healthy, right? Even testicular ultrasounds, my testicles are healthy and my heart is healthy. So again, this is something I have to live with, and just an unfortunate reality of the times that we live in. And before you ask, I've had Flurona twice and I didn't alter my cardiac markers. So take it or leave it. This is the information I can give you. Going forward, I will just keep track of this and I will keep doing my CT scans and MRIs when I feel that I'm due for a follow-up. This is all the blood work that I have to share with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, when you see me on cycle, that might be a hint. And again, when I do a cycle, it's probably just TRT plus, because I have a lot more things going on right now than just, hardcore bodybuilding. And again, I'm going to turn 40 this year, so I have to kind of slowly throw in the towel anyway. I'll keep you guys updated on my fertility parameters and how they're improving steadily. I hope you'll find this informative for your own decision-making process going forward. Basically, long story short, you come off cycle, you let all of the drugs metabolize, then you start your fertility protocol, 1,000 IUs HCG every other day or every day, which is still clinically accepted, and recombinant FSH, 75 IUs every day. I wouldn't do every other day. I don't feel that that's enough based on the reference range and the blood work that I've done so frequently. So that's recombinant FSH every single day, glutathione multiple times per week, carnitine multiple times per week, and just living an overall healthy lifestyle that's not very inflammatory or containing a lot of oxidants that can cause oxidative stress, right? If you do that and you treat your testicles with respect, then I'm sure you can get pregnant too, or at least your partner, right? Men don't get pregnant, the partner does. But who knows, with the way society is going, maybe men can get pregnant from 2030 onwards as well. I'll leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find everything that I'm associated with down below in the YouTube description section. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Vigorous. A not so flex frontal bicep for the Vigorous crew. I still got some cannons, but the lower back is just as impressive. So stay tuned. Progress pictures are coming soon when I feel ready to share that with you guys. For now, we're out of time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.